Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ad America. My name is James, one of the e-guides here in Ad America, and we welcome audience members joining us online. We hope that you're doing well and staying safe. Ad America is the United States Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. Today, we will be having Digital iLearn at America, Protecting Our Forest Protects Us. Session 3, you too can be the heroes of our forest. But before we begin, let's break the ice with a little game. True or false? In tropical forests alone, a quarter of a trillion tons of carbon is stored in, above, and below ground biomass. Stay tuned until the end of this program because we'll be giving a live shout out to who can answer correctly on our social medias. Other than that, don't forget to take a selfie and tag at America's Instagram account. And now, without further ado, I would like to invite our moderator for today. We have Mbak Akita Verselita, a data analyst and media outreach of Manga Bay, Indonesia. Mbak Akita, the stage is yours.
Hi everyone. Thank you, James, for the opening. Hi everyone, once again. Welcome to Digital iLearn at America, protecting our forest, protects us. My name is Akita Verslita. I'm the data research analyst and media outreach of Mongabe, Indonesia. And I would like to give a biggest appreciation for at America to raise this issue on environment and nature and how it is important for us to be the heroes of our environment, especially for our forest, because that's what we have been doing in Mongabe for 10 years as a media that advocates environment conservation. And we are really happy to collaborate with America, and we're very humbled with this opportunity and me as a moderator that we are today, this evening, we would be discussing and learning together on how we can save our forest. That that our smallest actions can have impacts, and not all heroes wear capes. So you can too be the heroes of the forest. That's is the topic for today's discussion. And as you know, this is the third sessions of this protecting our forest protects us. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce our respective speakers for today. And there will be two incredible ladies joining us for today's discussion. I would like to invite Miss Carolina Astri and Miss Evelyn Farkes Bikas, PhD. Um, okay, before I invite them, I would like to read their short bio and background. Um, all right. So for Miss Carolina Astri, she is a data analyst on gender equality, social inclusion research analyst at Wahana Research Indonesia. She previously a conflict transformation analyst and researcher for Wahana Research Indonesia, specializing in anthropological studies of the One Map initiative and customary forest communities. She was the awardee from the scholarship in University of Oslo, and she attained cultural science MSc from Gajah Mada University. Hi, Mbak Carolina. How are you there?
Hi, Mbak, I'm fine. I'm so excited.
That's really good to hear. And now our second speakers is Miss Evelyn Farkas Bikas, PhD. She is the Deputy Director for program at CMO Biotrop. She is the faculty member of College of Forestry and Environmental Studies in Mindanao State University, or MSU, and the Philippines on silviculture and forest protection. She is an English editor for Biotropia, and she attained her forestry PhD in University Putra, Malaysia. Hi, Miss Evelyn. How are you there?
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Akita. Thank you for that introduction. Yeah,
Yes,
I'm doing fine here. Although earlier on there was thunder and heavy rain, but now it's okay.
that's great. I think not only me, Bu Evelyn and Mbak Carolina also are excited to start our discussion today. So I'm not going to drag this opening for a long time. I would like to invite um, Miss Mbak Carolina Astri to prepare her presentation and share us the learning materials for today. Okay, are you ready, Mbak Carolina?
Yeah, I will share.
Okay, now while waiting for Mbak Carolina, I would like to remind you guys that have been joining with us today that there will be a Q&A sessions by the end of this presentation session. So please do not hesitate to drop your question for Mbak Carolina and Bu Evelyn, and we would be discussing and answering your questions. You can drop the questions on at America social media platform where you are watching this live streaming. Okay, I think Mbak Carolina has prepared her presentation on lessons from the forest dependent people. The floor is yours, Mbak Carolina.
Thank you Mbak Kita. Selamat malam, sore menjelang malam. Saya akan mempresentasikan bahan paparan saya menggunakan bahasa Indonesia. Ini adalah pertama-tama perkenalkan dulu, saya Carolina Astri, biasa dipanggil Astri. Kebetulan saat ini saya bergerak untuk menjalankan sebagai research analyst di bidang gender equity and social inclusion. Oke. Sebenarnya paparan kali ini sebenarnya lebih kepada refleksi ya, refleksi saya di lapangan bersama teman-teman dari WRI. Itu kita langsung aja. Oke. Jadi untuk melihat pembelajaran gitu ya dari orang-orang yang sangat bergantung pada hutan, ini tidak bicara sebenarnya hanya mereka yang tinggal di dalam hutan. Artinya bukan hanya masyarakat hutan gitu ya, tapi ternyata masyarakat yang tinggal di luar hutan, termasuk kita mungkin yang tinggal di tengah kota gitu ya, itu juga sangat bergantung gitu dengan keberadaan hutan itu sendiri gitu. Nah, untuk mengetahuinya lebih lanjut, seperti apa sih peluang gitu ya? Apakah ada peluang kita untuk turut menjaga hutan atau dalam konteks yang lebih sederhana lagi ke depannya. Nah, kita mau melihat nih seperti apa sih forest management di Indonesia itu sendiri. Mungkin banyak beberapa teman-teman pegiat yang concern bekerja di bidang kehutanan itu ataupun yang tidak tahu gitu ya bahwa forest management di Indonesia kebanyakan sifatnya itu top down. Artinya negara cukup banyak mengambil andil gitu ya pada saat penunjukan kawasan hutan. Kebanyakan penunjukan kawasan hutan di Indonesia itu sudah dilakukan oleh Indonesia sendiri gitu ya. Dan ternyata realitanya ada banyak masyarakat yang tinggal di dalam hutan. Artinya banyak aktivitas masyarakat di dalam hutan ini dianggap ilegal gitu ya. Padahal secara historisitas mungkin mereka sudah ada sejak lama gitu. Nah, salah satu peluang yang kemudian pada presentasi ini saya akan lihat itu adalah social forestry. Social forestry ini muncul akibat adanya diskursus gitu ya di manajemen kehutanan di Indonesia dan mungkin negara lainnya dilihat sebagai mempertanyakan gitu ya antara kontrol negara dengan realita yang ada di lapangan gitu. Social forestry ini sendiri hadir intinya untuk melibatkan masyarakat yang ada di dalam hutan yang sudah ada sejak lama dan mencoba melihat apakah sumber daya hutan dapat kita berdayakan lebih nilai ekonominya atau yang lainnya gitu ya. Jadi mungkin ketika penunjukan kawasan menempatkan masyarakat hutan ke dalam posisi-posisi ataupun aktivitas yang dianggap ilegal, ini menjadi salah satu pintu masuk atau alternatif solusi. Mungkin ada solusi yang lain untuk solving forest problems gitu ya. Mau itu land tenure ataupun terkait sejarah yang sudah ada terkait traditional practice yang mungkin masyarakat sudah terapkan dan sebenarnya itu juga jadi bagian dalam upaya penyelamatan itu sendiri gitu ya. Nah, seperti apa sih social forestry skema di Indonesia gitu. Nah, Di Indonesia sendiri ada 5 skema social forestry yang mungkin kalau teman-teman mungkin background-nya bermacam-macam ya, ada mungkin Mbak kita wartawan gitu ya, atau ada peneliti, atau mungkin teman-teman yang bergerak di usaha tertentu gitu ya, mungkin nggak sih melihat peluang kerjasama dari social forestry, skema social forestry di Indonesia ini. Yang pertama itu ada HKM atau yang kita kenal sebagai hutan kemasyarakatan. Ada hutan desa, itu hutan yang khusus untuk dikelola oleh masyarakat desa. Jadi levelnya lebih luas ya daripada hutan kemasyarakatan gitu. Atau juga ada HTR, hutan tanaman rakyat, yang bisa dilihat dari memang pengelolaan tanaman yang sudah ada tapi skalanya lebih kecil gitu ya. Dan kemitraan. Kemitraan ini nih yang biasa kita lihat di lapangan, misalnya di sana ada para pihak siapa aja yang kemudian bisa bekerja sama dalam skema social forestry ini bersama masyarakat dalam hutan. Nah, yang terakhir sebenarnya ini posisi yang skema kehutanan yang lumayan kuat, yang sangat kuat gitu ya untuk masyarakat hukum adat. Artinya hutan adat ini full ownership gitu ya. Dia tapi prosesnya juga melalui proses yang lama. Nah, tapi dalam presentasi saya ini saya akan lebih banyak membahas pengalaman di pendampingan hutan adat dan hutan desa. Nah, ini contoh pembelajaran yang kemudian saya akan sharingkan gitu ya mengenai inisiasi pengusulan social forestry di Riau dan Aceh. Tapi ada konteks yang berbeda. Untuk peta yang di sebelah kiri, semoga bisa terlihat ya. Untuk peta yang di sebelah kiri, ini ada hutan adat yang coba kami usulkan bersama pihak-pihak lain yang ada di NGO lokal juga untuk memberikan akses kepada masyarakat adat di sana. Jadi kalau bisa dilihat di garis-garis yang hitam itu, ada sekitar 7 nagari gitu ya. Ada 6 nagari yang kemudian mereka tinggal di Rimbang Baling Wildlife Reserve Area. Jadi bisa dibayangkan ya status izinnya Suaka Marga Satwa dan ada satwa yang dilindungi, kebetulan harimau Sumatera. Jadi terbatas ruang gerak masyarakat di sana gitu. Lalu apa sih sebenarnya yang bisa kita lakukan? Nanti kita akan bahas. Lalu yang di sebelah kanan itu ada peta di hutan desa untuk kelompok di Provinsi Aceh, khususnya di Kecamatan Benar Meriah. Jadi perbedaannya adalah untuk hutan desa ini kebetulan kalau di hutan adat adalah keseluruhan entitas masyarakat adat untuk mengusulkan hak mereka, hak wilayah mereka gitu ya. Ketika di hutan desa ini skalanya adalah desa. Jadi masyarakat desa dapat mengelola dan membentuk unit-unit usaha gitu ya untuk meningkatkan perekonomian mereka. Artinya dilihat juga di dalam wilayah kelola hutan desa tersebut, hutan desa yang diusulkan itu ada apa aja sih gitu ya potensi sumber daya alamnya. Misalnya kopi gitu. Apakah kemudian kopi ini bisa kita bentuk unit usahanya untuk nilainya mungkin lebih tinggi dari sebelumnya? Atau misalnya jasa lingkungan lainnya, misalnya ada sumber air atau air terjun, potensi wisata, dan lain-lain. Ini bisa dikelola desa melalui lembaga HD itu sendiri, hutan desa itu sendiri, untuk dinikmati bersama gitu ya. Kemudian ketika rencana kelola perhutanan sosial ini dibentuk gitu. Nah, belajar dari itu, sebenarnya saya mencoba menempatkan refleksi atas yang kami lakukan. Misalnya mungkin kalau saya menempatkan diri saya sebagai peneliti perempuan gitu ya, peneliti perempuan dan tinggal di masyarakat yang remote gitu, bahwa apa sih yang bisa kita lakukan hal sederhana untuk mereka gitu ya, untuk artinya bukan hanya menyerahkan masyarakat untuk menjaga forest, tapi kita juga turut menjaga forest gitu. Yang pertama adalah pentingnya melihat native role ya, bahwa kita melihat masyarakat itu ternyata punya local wisdom loh dalam menjaga hutannya gitu ya. Mereka mungkin punya beberapa mitos atau punya cara-cara tersendiri gitu untuk menjaga hutan mereka. Yang kadang dilihat bahwa ini tidak ada gitu ya. Padahal mungkin misalnya kita bicara terkait penebangan kayu gitu ya. Mungkin memang realitanya terjadi gitu adanya penebangan kayu, tapi mungkin ada local wisdom mereka sebesar apa sih kayu yang boleh ditebang gitu ya, atau yang lain-lainnya. Jadi ternyata khususnya untuk masyarakat yang masih punya apa namanya hukum lokal gitu ya, mereka juga menarasikannya dari generasi ke generasi ternyata kayak gitu. Jadi penting sekali untuk mengcapture peran dari masyarakat lokal dalam manajemen hutan itu sendiri. Yang kedua, dari pengalaman ketika kita masuk untuk apa namanya ke masyarakat di dalam hutan, ternyata penting juga ya kita untuk melihat, membantu masyarakat untuk melihat apa namanya potential research-nya untuk menjadi sumber mata pencaharian mereka atau jadi sumber unit bisnis gitu ya. Kadang hal ini apa namanya mungkin tidak dilihat oleh masyarakat karena mungkin mereka terbiasa jual kopi ya udah bahan mentah aja gitu atau apa. Tapi mungkin kita sebagai pihak yang punya pengalaman untuk mengelola itu jadi barang bukan bahan mentah gitu ya, itu juga bisa kita lakukan. Lalu yang selanjutnya juga ini tidak kalah penting terkait masalah documenting community history and local knowledge. Kenapa? Karena ini tidak hanya berhenti dari orang tua gitu ya, tapi future generation yang harus kita pegang untuk meneruskan apa namanya local wisdom dalam manajemen forest management mereka. Lalu selanjutnya kita juga bisa gitu ya penting nih untuk melihat peran perempuan dan pemuda gitu ya. Jadi kebiasaannya untuk para peneliti atau mungkin teman-teman yang pegiat di bidang kehutanan itu kadang lupa gitu ya. Maksudnya kadang tidak melibatkan perempuan dan pemuda, sedangkan mereka punya apa namanya peran gitu dalam forest management. Dan tidak kalah penting, selain melihat peran perempuan dan pemuda, ada lower social class lain yang harus kita akomodasikan. Artinya, yang harus diakomodir. Artinya, kita juga bisa melihat social class di dalamnya gitu ya. Jadi tidak hanya pendekatan ke elitis gitu, tapi penting untuk melihat mana sih kelas atas, mana sih kelas menengah, dan mana kelas bawah. Supaya kita tahu gitu ya kebutuhan mereka secara menyeluruh. Nah, yang lebih praktikal, penting untuk kita melihat adanya mutual understanding dari sustainable practices ini sendiri gitu. Ini sangat krusial ya, karena kalau misalnya ini saja tidak kita internalisasi, mungkin juga akan susah gitu melihat realita tanpa juga adanya praktis. Nah, sesimpel apa sih yang bisa kita lakukan gitu ya, kalau misalnya merujuk ke judulnya Little Things That Matters to Save Our Forest gitu. Salah satunya ternyata lewat skema social forestry, ini ada banyak. Salah satunya misalnya lewat hutan desa gitu ya, atau misalnya hutan kemasyarakat, mereka punya unit usaha gitu ya. Artinya mereka menghasilkan produk non-timber forest. Nah, kita bisa mencoba mengkonsumsi beralih dengan hasil-hasil hutan mereka. Misalnya kita punya konsumsi madu yang mass production gitu ya, tapi kita coba deh madu hutan gitu. Kalau saya sendiri sih merasa ada perubahan ya, atau kopi hutan. Artinya agak berbeda gitu ya dengan produksi madu yang yang biasa dijual di convenience store dan lain-lainnya lah gitu. Nah, selain itu, ternyata lewat social forestry, beberapa juga atau namanya apa punya program-program seperti konservasi dan restorasi gitu ya. Kita bisa menyisihkan uang untuk tree planting, mangrove restoration dan lain-lainnya gitu. Dan sebenarnya yang paling mungkin dekat dengan apa namanya kemampuan kita adalah misalnya teman-teman itu bisa sharing ke masyarakat sesuai dengan kebutuhan. Artinya ketika kita punya kemampuan gitu ya, misalnya kita capable atau bisa untuk menyusun bisnis unit gitu, jangan menutup diri untuk memberikan apa namanya kapasitas itu ke masyarakat. Sekali lagi ini masyarakat masih sangat butuh expertise untuk menyusun rencana kelola perhutanan sosial mereka. Ada banyak hal, bukan hanya bisnis penguatan kapasitas kelembagaan saja gitu ya, tetapi juga secara praktikal mereka butuh juga voluntary capacity building dari kita gitu. Oke, itu sekian presentasi saya. Jika ada pertanyaan, saya kembalikan kepada Mbak Akita. Terima kasih.
Thank you so much, Mbak Carolina Astri. She was like opening our eyes, yeah, on what is forest management in Indonesia and what is the customary forest and how is the resources management in Indonesia. And I have some questions prepared for Mbak Carolina, and you should too. And please drop it, and Mbak Carolina will be answering those questions later on. Correct, Mbak? Okay, amazing. It was such a insightful presentation from Mbak Carolina Astri from Wahana Riset Indonesia. And I'm not going to wait for so long for the next speaker, Ibu Evelyn Farkes Bikas, PhD. She is the Deputy Director for Program at Siameo Biotrop. Hi, Bu Evelyn. Are you ready to share your presentation and give us another incredible insight on the forest? I think your voice is a bit.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Akita.
Okay.
I'm just going to. Do I have to have full screen? Yeah.
Yes. All right. While we are waiting for Bu Evelyn to share her screen for the presentation, I would like to remind you guys to prepare questions for Bu Evelyn that will be discussed on the end of the presentation sessions. Okay, I think Bu Evelyn is now ready to present on those little things that you and I can do to save our beloved forest. The floor is yours, Bu Evelyn.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Akita. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you, Digital iLearn America, for inviting me to this webinar. I am happy to be here with you today and to be able to share with you my thoughts on the little things that can be done to protect and save the forest. I am Evelyn Vargas Bigkas, and I am the DDP of Siameo Biotrop. However, I'm just like any concerned citizen of this world that we are living in. I'll be sharing less figures but more practical and basic facts, and actually common knowledge, I would say, of our role in protecting and saving our forests. I believe that you have heard much about the forest environment from the previous speakers, and as such, your ideas, your inputs to the current topic are most welcome. As has been said, there is no monopoly of knowledge. I've taken or borrowed some photos from the internet and from personal friends, with of course due credits to the owners and the publisher. Although the title goes protecting the Owe Coast, our response towards it the environmental restoration in the new normal post-pandemic, our response has to go beyond the pandemic. These practical steps have been done before the pandemic, but must continue on even beyond the pandemic, as the pandemic, I believe, will not stay forever. So that's my title. So the theme for this webinar series is Protecting Our Forests Protect Us. My title is Protecting the Huicos, Our Response Towards Environmental Restoration in the New Normal Post-Pandemic. So as the Siameo Biotrope motto goes, protect the forest from the mountain to the ocean. Okay, that's me. So particularly, I will be talking about those little things that we can do to save our beloved forest. Just a minute. By the way, the Greek word oikos means household, a home or a place to live, and is the root word for ecology. So the study of the relationships among organisms and their environment or their surroundings. Basically, oikos is the place we live, our habitat, our environment, one of which is the forest or the forest ecosystem. So these little things or responses are more of practical rather than scientific, although these are based on scientific knowledge, particularly diversity, yet these are more of practical applications. So continuing on from the motto of Biotrope, that is protecting the forest from the mountain to the ocean, here is my outline. What is a protected forest? What happens if the forests are destroyed? Why do we conserve the forest? And what is our role in saving the forest? Those little things that we can do to save our beloved forest. So actually, most of the first three topics are or were discussed by the previous speakers. Okay, a forest or a forest ecosystem is an extensive area of land predominantly covered with trees and other woody vegetation interacting with its physical and biological environment so that a flow of energy leads to a clearly defined trophic structure, material cycle, and biotic diversity within the system. A tree, on the other hand, is a woody plant having one straight vertical perennial stem or trunk at least 3 inches or 7.6 centimeters in diameter at a point that is 4.5 feet or 1.4 meters above the ground. A tree has a well-defined or well-formed crown of foliage and a mature height of at least 13 feet or 4 meters. Okay, what is a protected area? Protected area is a clearly defined geographical space. It is recognized, dedicated, and managed through, just a minute, through legal or other effective means in order to achieve the long-term conservation of nature with its associated ecosystem services and cultural values. So that's the definition of the IUCN, or the International Union for the Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. So another definition of protected area, that it refers to those identified portion of land or water set aside by reason of their unique physical and biological significance. They are managed to enhance biological diversity and protected against destructive human exploitation. So there it goes, the unique physical and biological significance. That's why they are protected. Okay, forest effects on climate change are actually two-sided. The forest can mitigate climate change by absorbing carbon, yet forests can negatively contribute to climate change if they are degraded or destroyed. Climate changes may lead to forest degradation or loss, which further aggravates the effects of climate change. Protected areas refer to So, protected areas are very important then for biodiversity conservation and human livelihood amidst climate change. Thus, protected forests play an important role in helping species, people, and countries adapt to climate change. Because these are protected, these forests should be free from destructive human activities so that they can continue to serve the future as a natural storehouse of goods and services. Okay, these are the few examples of forest types. So we have in the Philippines, also in Indonesia, we have the dipterocarp forest. So that's a form of ecosystem, forest ecosystem. We also have the mangrove forest. And we have the aquatic forest, that is the coral reef. Now, coral reefs are also considered as forests because they are considered or named as the rainforest of the sea. Okay, what happens if the forests are destroyed? Okay, what is deforestation then? Deforestation or forest clearance is the removal of a forest or stand of trees from land that is then converted to non-forest use. It also involves the conversion of forest land to farms, ranches, or urban uses. The permanent removal of standing trees, as described by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA. Okay, what are the environmental effects of forest destruction or deforestation? Okay, we have the loss of habitat, increased greenhouse gases. So if the forest is destroyed, many organisms will lose their homes. That's why destruction, habitat destruction. And if the trees are lost, or any vegetation for that matter, the trees are the one that absorbs carbon dioxide. So if they are gone, if they're missing, then there will be an increase in the greenhouse gases because no one will absorb them. They will go to the atmosphere. And also, it affects the water cycle. So it affects the presence of water in the atmosphere. And lost forest also causes soil erosion and flooding. And then, just a while ago from our first presenter, we learned that there are those forest-dependent people. So these people will be displaced if the forest is destroyed. Okay, those are pictures of destroyed forest. That's the effect. Displaced indigenous people, they had to flee somewhere, look for other places to find their livelihood. That's soil erosion. Now, why do we conserve our forests? Our forests are very valuable. If they are gone, then they will not be able to function in these three important roles. Now, forests have productive, protective, and regulative roles. Now, under the productive roles, the forest or the trees or vegetation for that matter perform photosynthesis. And photosynthesis, without photosynthesis, there will be no life because there's no food if there is no photosynthesis. And there will be no carbon sequestration because that's the process wherein carbon is sequestered, food in the form of organic matter is produced. For the protective function or role of the forest, now we have both Indonesia and the Philippines. Indonesia has tsunami. Philippines has storm surge and typhoons and everything. Now, our mangrove forest serves as windbreaks or windbreakers. They protect the coastal ecosystem or the coastal community. And lastly, our forest has this regulative function. They are responsible in regulating the water cycle. No forest, that's why there are flash floods or there's flooding. Water, there is much water when they are not needed, and there's no water when they are much needed. So that's what would happen if our forest is gone. Okay, so those are just examples taken from the internet. So some of the benefits, they help nurture the soil. So the organic matters, the forest litters, improves the structure of the soil. They act as carbon sink. So the standing trees are a lot of carbon dioxide stored in the form of organic matter. So if we burn the trees, there goes the carbon dioxide. Carbon goes out in the form of carbon dioxide, and they are considered as they are called the greenhouse gases, which contribute to the global warming. And the forest also provide healthy foods to millions. If we have an intact forest, they supply nutrients to the lowland, to the agricultural land. So we have food. We have food from the forest. We have food from the agricultural land. And they are our natural aqueducts. They serve as they regulate the water flow. So they serve as channels of water. And remember the loss of habitat. So our forest host 80% of biodiversity on Earth. So that's how precious our forests are. So these are other functions of our forest. In the process of photosynthesis, they capture the carbon dioxide and they release the oxygen. That's why when you go inside the forest, we feel different. When we come from a very hot area and we enter a forest, we feel that the air is cooler and the air is fresh. So it protects the soil and all this. Yes, they also provide fuel wood. They protect the wildlife, and they also provide for wood for construction. And then these are other more benefits, importance of our forest. Why do we have to protect them? From the mountain to the ocean. So from the mountain forest to the ocean forest, we have to protect them. And there are forests along the way also. So that's another. And that's another one. So there are so many. Okay, so what is our role in saving the forest? The little things that we can do to save our forest. We can help save our forest as individuals or as households, as a community or as a part of the local government unit, and as an industry or as an institution. So from different sectors, we really can help in our own little ways, can help the forest. Saving the forest. So what is our role? As individuals, this is a senior high school student in one of the islands in the Philippines. And at this time, this was in 2014. So she was acting as the guide and at the same time the lecturer. And this involved some of my colleagues. They connected with the local government unit and they get involved in assessing biodiversity in a certain national park. We call that Sacred Mountain National Park. And this is, as an institution, this is Biotrope. That's our director. And this is the deputy director for admin, and those are the staff. So if you are from Bogor, you are familiar with this. Okay, as an individual or as a household, how can we help save the forest in our own little ways? So I think the first reporter also have mentioned this. No, we promote or help promote tree plantations or simply tree planting outside the natural forest to redirect the pressing demand on the forest products. Another one, we can join information campaign efforts about the forest benefits. So inform one and the other one informs another about the benefits of the forest. But this time it's even faster. You just have to go to the internet, you go to the chat room, and then in a minute you can inform, you can encourage others to join information campaign for the protection of our forest. But of course, we have to be convinced that our forests are valuable before we can campaign for its protection. Another one is do not patronize and report illegally traded wildlife and illegal fishing.
Hi, Bu Evelyn. I would like to remind you that you have 5 minutes left for the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, as an individual, we still have those. And then we have, as an individual, we can practice the 5 R's: refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and recover or repurpose. Okay, as a community or as a local government unit, we can help establish wildlife sanctuaries. We can help conserve our life support systems by organizing Bantay Gubat, Bantay Dagat movements. And then in the Philippines, you can recommend to DNR, that's the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, those areas with unique biodiversity, such as caves and wetlands for conservation. Then you can encourage and conduct tree planting activities, practice open and closed fishing season, strictly implement the forest protection policies and laws. And this one is an example of a DNR initiatives. I would like to point this out because this is a mangrove rehab done by no other than by my brother. They were involved in DNR in the planting of coral nabin from damaged coral colony to steel frame as the base of foundation for corals to regenerate. After 5 years, the corals grew, and it's like this. So as an industry, you can help promote the protection of wildlife and their habitats. You can extend assistance by sponsoring those adopt a forest, etc. And strictly adhere to environmental laws as an industry or as an institution. And those sponsor events, donate time and money, reduce resource consumption in the office, practice and promote. This one is a very recent one. Practice and promote forest bathing at home or locally. So our previous knowledge of mountain trekking is now, it has improved or it has changed. It has got a new meaning. It's now forest bathing. So you have to savor, you have to bathe at the ambience of the forest. So in institutional initiatives, I will go, okay, that's for biotrope. Now biotrope, what is biotrope? Oops. It is one of the 26 centers of Siamio, and its vision is to be a leading center in tropical biology for the betterment, tropical biology conservation for the betterment of life in the Southeast Asia region. Okay, just very quickly. Okay, what do we do at Biotrope? Okay, those are the things that we do at Biotrope. If you want to learn more, you can communicate through the admin. Okay, so to achieve its vision and fulfill its 3 mandates, research, capacity building, and information dissemination, Biotrope has initiated its 3 major flagship programs. And these 3 major flagship programs, we have sustainable management and wise utilization of biodiversity, restoration and conservation of unique and degraded ecosystems, and then the strengthening of ecosystem resilience to global climate change. These 3 are further broken down to the what they call as the 10 Bs. to materialize its ecosystem conservation efforts and to be easily remembered, the center launched the 10 Bs in the form of acrostics, representing the center's various brands of activities. So with the theme for literacy on tropical biodiversity in 2030, Chemeo Biotrope has formulated these 10 Bs flagship programs as the means to accelerate and formulate its activities. So promoting its motto on protecting biodiversity from the mountain to the ocean, Biotrope has the following specific programs. So you have Bioma, Biota, so those are the acrostics, the meaning of those 10 Bs. So these programs can directly or indirectly contribute towards saving the forest based on the vision of Biotrope. Okay, so you can be heroes of our forest too. As heroes, not all heroes wear capes, so you can be one. Okay, so these are just little things, but this can have big impacts if the efforts become concerted and collaborative. So can you just imagine one single Indonesian encouraging another Indonesian to help conserve a forest? So this single Indonesian or single Filipino who understands the value of the forest encourage another person, and then these two encourage another person, so we can have millions of Filipinos and Indonesian protecting or helping to protect the forest. So, thank you. This ends my presentation, and I hope that your love for the forest, if not yet developed, it has developed, and for those already who have developed love for the forest, I hope it will increase. Because without the forest, forest is life. So without the forest, we are in big trouble. If there's no photosynthesis, life will be on hold. No food. No biodiversity, no food.
Okay.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much and good evening.
Thank you, Bu Evelyn, for very insightful information and sharing your knowledge as well. We have learned so much from what is forest and how is forest works, and even what is the challenges on today's forest, and what can we do to help conserve the forest. But because of that presentations, I might say that it triggers some of my curiosity as well. So I bet that the audiences today are also triggered by this insightful and very broad knowledge about forests. So I assume the audiences also have some questions that will be asked to both Mbak Carolina and also Bu Evelyn. So we are going to have a discussion, and I would like to throw you some questions that I have prepared. Probably I would start with Mbak Carolina here. Okay, Mbak Carolina, since in the early of your presentation you mentioned that forest management in Indonesia is top-down approach, and how is the reverse approach been initiated, and how does it impact the social forestry communities? Is it like something that is feasible to make it like reverse from top down to down to top, something like that? What is your thought on that, Mbak Carolina?
Terima kasih Mbak Kita. Jadi sebenarnya social forestry ini sangat bergantung ya, kebanyakan adalah para pendamping, artinya mungkin di sini kita bisa bicara NGO atau teman-teman LSM atau para pegiat social forestry gitu ya. Kenapa pendekatan ini mungkin akan cukup artinya gini, lebih efektif gitu ya, karena prosesnya adalah kita mengcapture temuan di lapangan. Artinya kita coba memotret kehidupan masyarakat secara realitanya gitu ya. Di setiap skema social forestry ini kita akan punya rencana kelola perhutanan sosial. Kalau misalnya dia bentuknya adalah hutan adat, dia akan punya rencana kelola hutan adat. Begitu juga dengan skema yang lainnya. Dan perencanaan kelola ini harusnya dibangun lewat assessment ataupun riset-riset yang involves natives gitu ya. Artinya adalah tidak berdasarkan atas pengetahuan yang dibawa oleh teman-teman pegiat gitu. Artinya teman-teman LSM atau NGO gitu ya, itu terlepas. Jadi hasil perencanaan kelola itu identik dengan kebiasaan masyarakat. Karena kenapa gitu ya? Kenapa pendekatan yang dari bawah ini dilihat lebih efektif gitu ya? Karena kita coba melihat kebiasaan masyarakat, artinya yang kebiasaan ini dilihat punya manfaat gitu ya untuk keberlanjutan dan pengelolaan sumber daya hutan ini secara bertahun-tahun. Artinya ini sudah praktek lama gitu ya, Mbak. Jadi ketika ada sebuah kebijakan yang datang, misalnya penetapan kawasan gitu ya, dan tidak berbasis atas temuan lapangan atau lokal, itu terkadang kebijakannya juga tidak menyasar dengan kebiasaan yang bisa diadaptasikan oleh masyarakat gitu. Jadi challenge-nya mungkin di situ ya Mbak ya, bagaimana kemudian rencana kelola perhutanan sosial ini dibangun dari temuan lapangan gitu. Itu mungkin Mbak, mungkin yang bisa kita lihat peluang dari social forestry ini gitu. Dan skema-skemanya banyak, jadi kita bisa lihat entitasnya dulu nih gitu. Ketika entitasnya adalah masyarakat hukum adat gitu, mungkin skema yang cocok adalah hutan adat. Tapi bisa dilihat lagi gitu. Jadi tergantung hasil asesmennya.
Okay, thank you Mbak Carolina. So based on your explanation, you mentioned that it is based on the resources or like the findings on the field. And how does the assessment start from the beginning up to, like, for example, in public policy making for this customary forest? And since there are still many arguments and around the idea of the acknowledgement of the indigenous people in Indonesia, that most of them live in the nature, in the forest, some of them. So how is actually the process since the beginning, from the assessment through the end, and how does the other stakeholders other than the environmental activists or the government, but what is the role of another kind of stakeholders that can support this scheme to build the customary forest and to manage this customary forest in Indonesia?
Ya, jadi begini Mbak kita, kalau misalnya gitu ya, melihat proses pengusulan tiap skema ini memang agak berbeda gitu ya, antara hutan adat, hutan desa, dan hutan kemasyarakatan gitu ya. Mungkin bisa dilihat gitu ya, pendekatan yang kita lakukan gitu, research-nya itu kita pertama adalah harus mensosialisasikan kelima skema ini gitu ya. Artinya kita tidak datang dengan satu skema mutlak gitu. Kita menjelaskan kelima skema ini apa kelebihannya gitu ya, apa tantangannya segala macam, atau mungkin ini tidak bisa gitu, kayak misalnya mungkin tergantung juga peruntukan wilayahnya. Jadi kita lihat dulu gitu kondisi masyarakat dan wilayahnya. Kayak misalnya dalam pengusulan hutan adat, dia tidak bisa pada masyarakat yang mungkin tidak menerapkan misalnya hukum adat atau tidak punya lembaga adat gitu ya. Jadi ada beberapa prasyarat, salah satunya adalah yang paling penting di skema-skema itu adalah seperti apa wilayahnya, terus peruntukan dan lalu kelembagaannya ada atau tidak. Artinya kalau hutan desa berarti dia harus membentuk lembaga hutan desa. Kalau hutan adat dia harus membuat hutan adat dan sebagainya macamnya. Selain itu juga ketiga, mereka harus menentukan lokasi yang akan menjadi target izin dalam skema perhutanan sosial ini. Gitu. Artinya teman-teman yang akan mendukung gitu ya proses perizinan ini harus clear dengan ini. Juga social forestry sendiri juga tidak akan menjadi sebuah solusi gitu ya ketika misalnya peta yang akan diusulkan itu tidak melalui proses rekonsiliasi dengan wilayah lainnya. Artinya, misalnya ketika hutan adat, petanya dibuat tidak melalui proses rekonsiliasi dengan masyarakat adat di tempat lainnya, gitu, itu justru malah akan memicu konflik gitu. Jadi tergantung kita pendekatannya seperti apa gitu. Makanya penting banget ketika kita untuk mengusulkan perhutanan sosial itu kita melalui proses-proses yang 3 hal tadi aku bilang penting itu. Salah satunya yang paling krusial adalah masalah batas gitu ya, karena itu proses yang sangat panjang. Jadi um, um, hasil dari refleksi aku pribadi gitu ya, dalam proses pengusulan ini tergantung kedalaman pendekatan kita di lapangan gitu ya. Mungkin semakin kita pendekatannya dalam gitu, kita mencoba mengcapture problematika di masyarakatnya itu apa gitu ya, baru kita bisa merumuskan kira-kira skema perhutanan sosial apa yang bisa kita usulkan bersama-sama dengan masyarakat. Satu lagi mungkin Mbak, dalam rencana kelola itu sangat penting gitu ya untuk mengcapture proses yang kira-kira kegiatannya itu level adaptasinya mudah. Artinya tidak yang kita menyusun rencana kelola yang punya target tinggi gitu ya, yang terlalu mimpi indah gitu, padahal masyarakat sendiri punya keterbatasan gitu. Secara realistis mungkin bahkan tidak bisa untuk menjalankan kegiatan itu. Itu mungkin Mbak.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Carolina. So I would like to create a conclusion, yeah, that this customary forest or social forestry management in Indonesia would be able to be initiated from the grassroots, but requires some kind of criteria and also steps, and the approach are different to one another, and it requires structures in the communities, and it also the best approach are not one best approach is not it doesn't mean that it is another best approach for another communities as well. So thank you so much, Mbak Carolina. It is something that is very close to heart for Indonesians, because Indonesia we have a lot of communities that live in the forest, and they're also one of the protector of the forest. Thank you, Mbak Carolina, for your insights, and I would like to have a little bit discussion with Bu Evelyn, as she has mentioned a lot with the forest, and how big is the destructions and how the cycle of the forest as well. But one main thing that I would like to ask from Bu Evelyn, since Bu Evelyn is from Philippines and also has been working in the Southeast Asia regions. Bu Evelyn, if you may share to us your experiences, like during these past few years or maybe in the last decades, like how big is the destruction on the forest in the Southeast Asia regions, and is there any key lessons that we can learn from each countries that you may have encountered in the past on how they conserve the forest? Probably in the Philippines and Indonesia, it's different approach, ya, Bu, to conserve the forest. Do you mind to share with us, Bu?
Thank you, Bu Kita. Thank you, Ms. Akita. So, as I have said, I really do not have figures as to exact figures of, but I would say that deforestation is a complicated issue. Actually, one of the roles of the forest itself is the cause of its destruction. Why I would say that? Our forest, earlier on I've mentioned that our forest has its productive value. So it produces timber. It has its economic value. So with this timber, like in the Philippines, we have what we call our most diverse forest is the dipterocarp forest. And our dipterocarp forest was known, like we have the Philippine mahogany group, and this group of timber species were very popular in the market. So those in the heydays of logging, Philippines, if not in the top 5 we were in the top 10 exporter of woods or timber or logs for that matter. So can you imagine that our forest was destroyed because of that? Now there are figures, but I don't like to quote because I cannot remember exactly. Like worldwide, 40 hectares an hour or a minute of forest is destroyed. So I'm not sure now, but that is how massive forest destruction, especially in the tropical areas. So tropical deforestation is really massive. But sorry, I cannot give you the figure now. But it is, because it is complicated. Um, the reasons would run down from economic, of course, and poverty. Most of the people inhabiting the forest are economically, how would you say that, deprived. So, and then like big companies come and invest in logging. So logging companies, timber companies, they invest, and then it would only take, say, few minutes to cut down a tree, but it would take hundreds of years to grow a big tree as big as 80 centimeters dBH. So that's really a problem. Cut a tree, 5 minutes, it's down. Let it grow before it can reach a certain diameter or a certain height. It would take years.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I cannot really give you the
It's okay,
figures.
Evelyn. There will be another more questions from the audience on the forest. So let's start our Q&A sessions. We have compiled the questions from the audience that participated. Thank you so much for all the ones who participated. And I would like to ask a questions. There has been quite a long line of the questions, and we have limited time, so I would go this fast. So I would like to start with Mbak Carolina, because this questions is very quite related with your presentations. Okay, so the question is from BJ Swamintaya from Zoom meeting. The question is, at the present day, the forestry is in the destruction in the world. But can you tell us which countries which are still able to maintain their existence? Based on your presentation on social forestry, is Indonesia included to one of the countries that can still maintain the existence of their forest? Please, we would really appreciate your response, Mbak Carolina, on this.
We are trying. So, ya, lewat skema perhutanan sosial ini kita lihat ini menjadi salah satu alternatif ya. Kalau dibilang, kalau dilihat mungkin apakah kondisi hutannya itu masih baik atau terdegradasi gitu ya, atau sudah rusak atau seperti apa, itu sangat bergantung ke lokasi mana gitu. Artinya tidak dipungkiri gitu ya, bahwa banyak sekali kegiatan ekstraktif yang terjadi di Indonesia gitu. Tetapi kita coba lihat si social forestry ini sebagai salah satu alternatif solusi. Bagaimana kalau misalnya ini banyak sekali terjadi pada hutan lindung misalnya ya, dan perkebunan sawit. Artinya banyak petani swadaya kebun sawit ini mereka tidak tahu gitu ya. Jadi gini, pemahaman konteks hutan itu antara sesuai dengan izin dan masyarakat itu berbeda gitu. Jadi mungkin negara dengan patok-patoknya itu clear ya, oh ini batasnya, ini batas mereka gitu. Tetapi ketika kita masuk ke dalam masyarakat, ternyata perspektif hutan bagi masyarakat itu sendiri, mereka tidak tahu gitu batas hutan dan batas ulayat mereka yang mereka berhak mengelola itu sangat blur Mbak kita di lapangan. Jadi tidak dipungkiri banyak sekali praktik penanaman kebun sawit di dalam hutan lindung gitu ya. Nah, banyak beberapa regulasi mencoba mencari solusi itu gitu ya. Memang agak susah. Ada beberapa ada regulasi yang mencoba menjembatani konflik semacam itu dan mencoba melihat social forestry ini sebagai salah satu lokasi yang mungkin bisa diberdayakan di misalnya hutan desa gitu ya pada masyarakat yang merambah masuk kebun sawitnya di dalam kawasan lindung itu. Mereka coba mengurus izin hutan desa gitu ya untuk dapat secara legal mengelola tanah mereka. Artinya bukan dalam bentuk perkebunan sawit lagi gitu ya, tetapi dalam tanaman-tanaman agroforestry, tanaman-tanaman yang bisa dimanfaatkan hasil hutan bukan kayunya gitu. Jadi kalau ditanya lagi gitu ya, apakah masih ada dengan kondisi konflik ataupun upaya eksploitasi di hutan itu sendiri, aku mungkin akan bisa menjawab social forestry bisa jadi salah satu cara untuk kita mempertahankan hutan yang tersisa gitu ya. Itu Mbak. Dan mungkin dalam satu kesempatan lewat program Forest Watch, Forest Watcher atau patroli hutan gitu ya, atau misalnya restorasi, itu juga bisa dilihat sebagai satu aktivitas yang memulihkan hutan yang sudah mulai terdegradasi.
Okay, Mbak Carolina. So we can say that it is quite an example that the social forestry is one of the, how to say, like a mitigation plan for the destructions of the forest in general, and how the people who manage the customary forest is also one of the protectors. I will come back to that if we have more questions on how we can protect these forest protectors. But I would go to the next question with Bu Evelyn. Bu Evelyn, the question is, there are some questions related to wood, because you mentioned that, for example, Philippines was one of the wood producer. So there is a question from Edit. The question is coming from Instagram that says, why does the use of wood help the environment? But there is one other question that can be seen as the what is that, like a counter question, from Fiona in Twitter. She asked, are we destroying the world's forest and the climate by using wood? So first question, how does the use of wood help the environment? And the second question, are we destroying the world forest and the climate by using the wood? So this is like a chicken and egg question. Which one is better, Bu Evelyn, based on your knowledge? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that question. So I would like to give I don't like to answer the question directly. So we understand that the forest captures carbon dioxide in the process of photosynthesis. So for those the non-science people, for the science people they understand this, but maybe the non-science people they are not familiar. So for the sake of those who are not familiar, so in the process of photosynthesis, that's a basic food production, basic production of food in life. With the carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere and water, plant is able to come up with food in the process of photosynthesis, and the food is termed as organic matter. And that's one unique thing in tree. The tree is the manufacturer, the tree is the product, the tree is the factory itself. So the tree as it stands, there are carbon dioxide in the form of organic matter that is stored in the body or carbon rather, carbon in the form of organic matter in the body of the plant. If you burn the plant for firewood, or just there's a forest fire, so the tree was burned. When something organic is burned, according to chemistry, carbon dioxide is released. So, in relation to the forest, you please decide if burning wood or cutting wood is detrimental or beneficial to the forest. Of course, I'm not saying that we don't use firewood, because we do understand that fuel wood is one of the major uses sorry, of forest. But as I have mentioned in one of, like as an individual, your role in saving or in protecting the forest, you can campaign or you can advocate for tree planting outside the forested area, or outside the protected forest rather. So plant it in an area so that the demand for fuel wood on the forest, the natural forest for that matter, will be lessened or will be redirected, because there are what we call as forest tree plantation, and they are a plantation for a certain purpose, whether it's for fuel wood, for timber production, and many other purposes. So I'm not saying we don't cut trees or we don't use fuel wood, because it's the cheapest actually. You can harvest, it's free. You stay close to the forest, you cut the branches or you cut the tree or the leftover, you can use it for fuel wood. So I hope I answered, or you, I don't know. Have you I answered the question, or
Okay,
there's a
Bu
follow-up?
Evelyn, thank you for the answer. May I ask one more question on this? For example, in Indonesia, we are used to build furnitures in our houses, in our homes, and we can see that it has been in many cultures. Even some houses, traditional houses in Indonesia, are made from woods. And back then, it was such a materials that is considered environmental friendly. Maybe in compared to, let's say, plastics or mining materials. So can we say that we can use the resources coming from the forest like wood moderately with the right purpose, not just burn it as a as a fuel for cooking or something?
Actually, from the standpoint of carbon sequestration, furniture, the use of wood for furniture is, for me, is really good, because you don't release the carbon dioxide, or you don't release the carbon from the plant, from the tree, from the wood, because you keep it as a furniture. And that's why there is, to redirect the pressure on the natural forest, there is a plantation for timber production for specific purposes like furniture making. Yes.
Okay,
So
thank you.
actually,
Mhm.
if I may say something, actually, forest destruction is a reality. Whatever for our needs, for other purposes. So actually, for me, especially in the topic of this webinar, our I would suggest that our focus would be more on how, in our little ways, can we help protect or save the forest, especially the natural forest, because those forests for production forests, like plantations for specific purposes, so they're really planted for that purpose. Now, for our conservation of biodiversity, and we understand there's a lot of benefits from biodiversity. So we cannot ignore the benefits from biodiversity and just continue on with neglecting, by not protecting our forest. So I would say that we focus more on the little things, on very like planting of a tree and taking care of it until it grows to maturity. Whether it's a fruit tree or something, because trees always capture carbon dioxide. So we help in the global warming. Maybe it's very little, but if there are more than a million or 10 millions or 100 million people trying to capture by planting tree, capture the carbon dioxide, I think a concerted effort, a collaborative effort will do much. So little things done by millions will have, I think, a greater impact.
Billion impacts, maybe, yeah, Bu Evelyn. This is there is a line, like a thread connecting between what Mbak Carolina has been mentioning about how we can conserve the forest and also gain economic, what is that, gain, yeah, economic gain for, let's say, planting coffee, and then another, managing another resources coming from trees. And also, as Bu Evelyn said, that we have also replanting trees as much as we can, and use it moderately, and build together, like build a healthy forest together. Okay, thank you so much, Mbak Carolina and Bu Evelyn. So I think this is the end of the discussion. Before later, I would ask both of you to give a closing statement or closing remarks regarding to this discussion. But I would like to so the next session, I would like to invite the audiences to join interactive sessions about the forest that we have been discussing for the last three sessions in at America. So please, everyone, join these Mentimeter sessions, and we will have some interactive, not discussion, like interactions. Okay, so here is the Mentimeter. You can join from your laptop, like your computer or your phone. You can go by scanning this barcode, or you can go to www.menti.com and use the code 22900697. I will also try to join from my phone. Okay. All right. Okay. Are you guys ready? I hope you guys ready. Okay. Maybe there are two people joining. Let's go. Let's wait for some more. We are still waiting. Maybe Bu Evelyn and Mbak Carolina also can join this Menti game, because we want to see how what have you gained from these sessions discussing about how we can protect our forest and other things. It would be really fun to join on this Menti game. Okay, more people are coming. I cannot wait. Please join.
I don't know how to go about this.
It's okay, Bu. It's a bit complicated. Okay. So everyone, you can scan the barcode once again, and or go to your browser on your phone or your computer and type www.menti.com and use the code, or input the code 22900697. All right. Okay, I'm not going to wait. I think this is enough. Let's go and let's see what we are going to answer together. Okay, next, let's join the question. First question. Okay, this is the first question. Do you think protecting the forest is an important act? Okay, I don't think we can mess this up. So, do you think that protecting the forest is an important act? Very important, someone say. Yes, definitely. Sure. Okay. Our lives depends on it. Urgent, 100. 100%. Yes, it's our responsibility. Okay, thank you for those who have joined. Let's go to the next question. The second question is, what's your idea to help protect our forest? Okay, would you mind to be a scientist like Bu Evelyn, or do you want to go to grassroots like Mbak Carolina, or are you gonna be with like me? First, visit forest. Okay, maybe we can visit forest and take pictures and campaign on how we should protect the forest. Maybe, yeah. What's the next? Keep clean. Yes. No paper. Sure. No paper based like tissue or paper. Using less plastics. Yeah. Good for the environment.
To some extent, paper is okay, but plastic is not.
Of course. Thank you, Weflin.
Paper can degrade.
Yeah. Stop cutting down trees and then keep clean. Using less plastic. Okay. Mainstream anti-FP product. What is anti-FP product? Uh, okay. Plant trees. Planting various trees. Okay. Thank you everyone for the participation on the second question. Let's go to the next question. Let's go to the next question. Yeah, the third question is, which island in Indonesia that you know has the largest forest? Wow, this is incredibly difficult questions because we have a lot of forests spread it in big islands Indonesia. Sumatra, Kalimantan, Papua, Irian. Okay, what is the answer?
Answered Kalimantan. Is that
Okay.
right?
Most of the participants mentioned Kalimantan. Is there any more questions? Maybe Sulawesi, maybe Java, maybe I don't know. Okay, so the fourth question, how do you feel about this event? How do you feel about this event, Digital iLearn at America, protecting our forest protects us? Amazing. Fun dong. Okay, I have fun too. It, okay, very informative. Informative. We want more. Yes, at America, please conduct more. Talking about environment and forest. Cool. Okay, thank you guys for the positive feedback. Okay, last questions for today's Mentimeter. Okay, this is quite okay. On the fifth questions, on a scale from 1 to 10, 5 is the highest. Would you recommend your friends and relatives to join at America's event? So most people have answered yes, definitely. On the scale 5, 6 people, yes. Okay. I think we are all on the same page. Let's recommend our friends and relatives to join at America's event. Okay, I think that's all for today's Mentimeter. So yeah, I think that's the end of our game, short interactive game. It's really good to see how you guys are responding to this. And before I close this, I would like to invite Mbak Carolina and Bu Evelyn to give closing remarks, could be in Bahasa or in English, about what have you delivered. And of course, please also answer or give some thought on how we can protect our forest and how we can be the heroes for our forest. Please, Mbak Carolina first.
Ya, thank you Mbak Kita. Kalau menurut kalau bisa dikonklusikan gitu ya, menurut saya pribadi sebenarnya yang bergantung pada hutan adalah bukan hanya masyarakat yang tinggal di dalam hutan gitu ya. Artinya adalah masyarakat yang tinggal di kota itu juga sangat bergantung gitu dengan hutan. Artinya adalah ketika wilayah yang ada yang masih ada hutannya gitu ya sangat menentukan misalnya bencana gitu ya ataupun misalnya sumber mata air gitu yang nantinya juga akan digunakan oleh kita yang ada di hilir gitu. Jadi penting untuk protect our forest gitu supaya bukan hanya sumber dayanya yang hilang gitu ya, tetapi banyak sekali knowledge yang ada di sana, knowledge yang dimiliki oleh masyarakat lokal yang mungkin kita bisa mengadopsinya gitu ya untuk masyarakat yang tinggal di kota gitu. Artinya adalah saat ini semuanya sedang beradaptasi gitu ya dengan climate change yang terjadi juga gitu. Jadi banyak hal yang sederhana yang bisa kita lakukan sesuai dengan role-nya kita masing-masing gitu. Jadi nggak usah muluk-muluk mencari apa sih yang bisa kita lakukan gitu yang mungkin mungkin dari keseharian gitu ya. Kita bisa lihat kalau misalnya masuk lewat dari skema perhutanan sosial, ayo kita konsumsi barang-barang yang dihasilkan oleh masyarakat yang sudah masuk izin perhutanan sosial. Karena kalau enggak ada pasarnya, percuma ya masyarakat coba memproduksi hasil hutan bukan kayu atau misalnya kerajinan tangan atau misalnya sabun yang terbuat dari misalnya serai, wangi yang mereka produksi gitu ya. Hal-hal yang kayak gitu yang dekat dan kebutuhan harian kita itu ayo kita berdayakan produk-produk hasil hutan yang sudah dihasilkan oleh masyarakat lokal.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mbak Carolina. You mentioned very clearly like how important forest for everyone and how we can contribute even from the smallest thing because everyone life depends on forest, right? Okay, next to Bu Evelyn, let's make it short. What is your closing remarks and what would you say to the audience today? How we can protect our forest? Please, Bu Evelyn.
Thank you, Ms. Akita. So in closing, I would like to say two things. First is that we only protect what is valuable to us. We only protect what we love. So if that is how we feel about our forest, we understand it's valuable, we love it, then and only then can we learn or start and advocate the protection of our forest or campaign for the protection of our forest. And the second one is I'd like to share the garden analogy. So caring for the forest is like we are presented with a garden. Actually, I heard this from another presenter in the past. We are presented with a garden and the capacity to nurture or to destroy the garden is in us. So which way are we going? Okay. Nurture, destroy. Yeah. So the question is for every one of us to answer.
Thank you, Bu Evelyn. So there are only two options that we should take, and we should know the consequences of those two options. Okay, thank you so much, Mbak Carolina and Bu Evelyn, for such a fruitful discussions. I hope not only me that learned a lot from your knowledge and experience that you have shared, but also the audience of at America that have been joining today's sessions. So I would like to say thank you for the opportunity for me to moderate this event. And I would like to close this sessions and I will give it back to you, James. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much to our moderator, Mbak Kita, along with our speakers, Mbak Carolina and Bu Evelyn, for today's very informative session. It's been great having you guys with us. Earlier in the event, we asked audience members a question. True or false, in tropical forests alone, 250 billion tons of carbon is stored in, above, and below ground biomass. And the correct answer to that is true. Forests are the world's largest storehouses of carbon, storing 250 billion tons of carbon in, above, and below ground biomass. Shout out goes to Hideliza Bigcast from YouTube for answering correctly. And thank you to everyone who has participated. Don't forget to tune in next time for another chance to get a shout out from us. Now, you may be wondering, how could I develop an awesome idea for a place like this? Well, it's very easy. All you need to do is go to our website at www.atamerica.or.id, select Create a Program, and click Collaborate with us. All event proposals coming to us will be reviewed, and your event might be featured here soon. You can also subscribe to our newsletter for all our weekly updates. And that's it, everyone. That wraps this episode. It's been fun, but we have to say goodbye for now. Follow our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at ATAmerica for our fun contents, event updates, and so much more. Thank you again, everyone, for joining. Again, my name is James, and we'll see you at the next At America TV episode. Goodbye.